Hey guys, here's Mrs. Yale, and I want to read to you chapter 24 of The Darkest Hour. So, at the end of chapter 23, Lucy and Tilly have finally made it safely onto Allied soil. They're in London, and Lucy has struck up a bargain with the British colonel to make sure that she gets to talk to Dorner. She says she has some unfinished business, and you and I know that Lucy is really like vindictive kind of, and she's like out for revenge. So I'm interested to see what her unfinished business is, because I'm pretty sure it's not going to be just a I'm mad at you type conversation. So here we go. This starts on page 291. 4 days later, Colonel James returns to my room at our appointed meeting time. I'm sitting on the edge of my bed, dressed in a pressed blouse and a black skirt that the SOE has supplied for me. I take a sip of hot water, wishing that it were tea or coffee, but the war rations haven't been exempted for the SOE. I barely slept the night before. I was too busy counting down the hours and then the minutes to this meeting. "Ready, Miss Blaze," says Colonel James at my door. "Ready," I reply, and follow him out. He takes me down the stairwell. We leave behind the sunny corridors of the upper stories and exchange them for the swinging overhead lamps of the building's basement, which cast a harsh glow upon our faces. My heels strike against the dusty floor, and I tuck my hands behind my back to keep them from fidgeting. This will likely be the only chance I get with Dorner face to face. I have to make it count. Only one of us will leave this meeting alive today. What? How long will I have with him? I ask. 5 minutes. Only 5? It's all they'd agree to. Most of my superiors didn't think it was a good idea for you to see him at all. But you convinced them otherwise? We had a deal, did we not? That's something I've learned about Colonel James. He's a man who keeps his promises. I told him all he wanted to learn about Dorner, and in return, he's arranged for this little rendezvous, despite what our higher-ups at the SOE and the OSS have had to say. Both agencies have been in upheaval these last few days. First, the SOE interrogated me for hours about my dealings with Dorner. Then they dragged in Dorner himself, who had apparently burrowed himself within the British intelligence community quite well since his arrival, and questioned him separately. The interrogations lasted for days, and with the OSS joining in, but both agencies kept me at arm's length. They told me to rest. They thanked me for my service, but I saw the wariness in their eyes, the same look they gave Tilly. I knew they weren't sure what to do with me, not after what I'd been through with Dr. Noct. Would I start yelling Hail Hitler like Tilly sometimes did? Or worse? A small part of me couldn't blame them for thinking what they did, but the rest of me wanted to kick some sense into them. I'd put my life on the line countless times for the Allies, and yet my own agency thinks I might be some Nazi marionette. That stings, to be honest. The only person who doesn't seem to look at me that way is Colonel James. We walk through 2 sets of iron-barred doors and past a pair of uniformed guards who've been tasked with making sure no one enters or leaves the basement without permission. At the sight of Colonel James, however, they step aside at once. We stop as we approach the last room along the dark hallway. There's a small square window inset in the door, and Colonel James motions for me to look through it. When I do, I see the inside of a cell with concrete floors and a metal toilet. There's a man sitting on a cement bench that's bolted to the floor, positioned in a way that I can only see his profile. But it's enough. It's Dorner, that's for sure. He can't see us, Colonel James murmurs. How long has he been kept here? Since you made us believe we should. Will there be a trial? Yes, the date is to be determined. Until then, he'll remain here. I relish the thought and reach for the doorknob, but it's locked, of course. Where's the key? One moment. He purses his lips. I'm to remind you of the parameters set by both the SOE and the OSS concerning this visit. 5 minutes, not a second more. You're not to lay a finger on him either. He's a spy, Miss Blaze. A blade sharpens in his voice, a warning. Very well, I lie. He unlocks the door, but before I head in, he has one more word of caution for me. Remember, he says, not a finger. I'll be watching. Duly noted, sir, I say, and step inside. My pulse hums. I spent all night plotting what I'd do in this moment, what I'd say to Reinhard, what he'd reply, and how I'd kill him. Colonel James might be watching me, but I know I can get the deed done before he can stop me. Dorner should be a simple kill, too, since he's been incapacitated. His left ankle is chained to the wall, and his wrists have been handcuffed. As Harkin would say, easy prey. If Dorner's shocked to see me, he doesn't show it. He greets me with his usual polite smile, and I wonder how long he's practiced it in front of the mirror. Was that part of his Nazi training? "What an unexpected surprise," he says. His hair is dirty, and he's wearing a poor-fitted white shirt and trousers, like a boy who decided to play dress-up in his father's closet. He also looks plumper since the last time I saw him. Maybe he was taking full advantage of whatever the Brits were feeding him before they took my accusation seriously and threw him into this cell. "Hello, Reinhard," I reply, even though he'll always be Dorner to me. "Dearest Marie-Louise." He stands to welcome me, never once flinching at the sound of the chain rattling behind him. He isn't wearing his glasses anymore. I'm guessing he never needed them in the first place. "You know, you never told me your real name." "Call me Blaze," I say. "Blaze." He tests out the sound of it. "Do I have you to thank for my new quarters? Not even a week ago, I was sitting down to a fine quail dinner with my new English friends, but then," he lifts up his cuffed wrists, "this." I pace around him and take in his living conditions. Mold gathers in the corner of the cramped space, and something foul-smelling drips from the ceiling in puddles on the floor. Lovely. "You are very welcome. I assume once you set foot in England, my cover was blown." It wasn't that easy, but I say nothing about it. "How astute of you, Reinhard." He grins. "Now that I know your name, it's only fair that you know mine. Your uncle was the one who told me. He also told me all about your little plans." "I wouldn't call them little," he says. That pompous weasel, I think. "I hope you enjoyed your time with my Uncle Alfred." He taps a finger against his forehead. "Are you feeling well? Any memory loss or some other side effect of his experiments?" Just for that, I'm ready to send my shoe into his teeth. But I know that Colonel James's eyes are on my back. If I plan on hurting Dorner, I'll have one chance and one chance only. I'll have to kick him with my words until then. "I'm feeling much better now that I've blown up your uncle's laboratory." At my revelation, Dorner proceeds to pick at a thread on his shirt, but I see a hairline crack in his smile. "It's no matter. There are other laboratories to carry on his work." "Perhaps, but I doubt it will be easy to carry on your uncle's work now that he's dead." I watch his hands freeze, and I wish he'd look up so I could see the look on his face at what I say next. "I killed him, you know." His chest rises and falls, and slowly he looks up at me. His blue eyes have grown dark and menacing, calculating how to hurt me. There you are, I think, the real Elias Reinhard. But like a true chameleon, he shifts and wipes his face clean. "Have you come to kill me as well?" He opens his arms to me, allowing full access to his chest. "Will you put a bullet in my heart with one of your pen contraptions?" "Alas, I don't have one with me." "Then what's your preferred method? A beating? Strangulation?" That would take too long, I think. I'd barely get Dorner unconscious before Colonel James came barreling through the door. I take one step closer to him, but he doesn't move. "Or a knife to the stomach," he continues. "I'm sure you'd relish seeing the blood drip out of me." "You're right. I wouldn't mind that," I say softly. "What I wouldn't give for a knife right now. The sharper, the better." He laughs. "Ah, I see. By killing me, you could avenge your fallen OSS colleagues. Major Harkin, for instance." "Oh, yes. The Nazis learned his identity months ago. I overheard from the SOE that he died in a fire." I stop myself from wincing, not wanting him to see that he's hit a soft spot. Harkin didn't die because of the fire. Sabine killed him. But in the end, Dorner has the blood of both on his hands. "What about your friend Odette?" he continues. Is she alive? His lips arch upward, sharp as scythes. If she is still breathing, I wouldn't mind introducing her to my friends in Berlin. A pretty thing like that. My fingers twitch, but I keep them at my sides. Have you lost your nerve? Dorner teases. I can see in your eyes you'd like nothing more than to kill me. Be done with it, Lucy, a voice whispers inside me. Did my uncle get to you after all? Did his serum make you sympathize a little for me, Fräulein? I see red. Hearing him call me that, how Dr. Knock used to address me, sends me hurtling to the edge, and I don't care one bit that Colonel James is watching from the window. I could snap Dorner's neck before the SOE or the OSS or the entire Allied forces combined could stop me. I'm ready to break him, but for some reason I hold back. There's something in his eye, in the edge of his laugh. The realization smacks me right in the face. He's baiting me. Dorner wants to die. He sees the writing on the wall, and he isn't stupid. He'll be tried and executed months from now. With that bleak of a future ahead of him, he must view me as the easy way out. Until the very end, he will use me. I turn my face away from his in order to steady my breath, to stop myself from killing him now, because nothing would make me happier. Then an idea comes to a boil in my mind, and I let it bubble over. One side of my mouth kicks up, and I won't give him what he wants, but I will give him what he deserves. You've grown too soft-hearted, Blaze, Dorner says. I ignore that and say, I don't believe you met my friend, Tilly. She was another one of your uncle's subjects. Did she die? He asks, all round-eyed. No, she's alive. I resist slapping him. What a relief for her family, too. You might have heard of them, the Fairbanks. They're very well known in America. They come from money, heaps of it. How nice. They will need that money to pay for her recovery, I imagine. I'm tempted to claw his eyes out. She'll recover. Don't you worry. Her parents and uncles will make sure of it. Both of her uncles are politicians, by the way. I've been sending them updates about you. That last part is a lie, but only a partial one. I do plan on contacting Congressman Fairbanks and Governor Fairbanks, and I'm sure they'll rally to this cause. I sharpen my own smile for Dorner. Tilly's uncles are powerful men with powerful friends, friends who will make sure that you remain in prison for the rest of your life. He rolls this over in his mind before he smirks. You're bluffing. I could be, yeah. I lean forward so he hears every word I have to say. But let's see who's bluffing a year from now when you're rotting in this cage. Let's see who's bluffing in a decade when you've forgotten the feel of the sun. Let's see who's bluffing when you're a bent old man and your brain has rotted into insanity. A vein pulses on Dorner's forehead. His smile has disappeared. We shall see, Fräulein. You are not the only one with powerful friends. You think the Nazis will come to your aid? I jut my chin at the damp walls. Hitler hasn't been able to conquer England yet. What makes you think he can get in to rescue you? I turn away from him, and a beat passes. Wait. I tilt my head back toward him. Listen to me. Perhaps we can make an arrangement. Somehow his voice has gone tender. He sounds like Dorner again, all soft vowels and rounded consonants. An arrangement? Oh, yes. I have intelligence about the Vonderwolf and the Nazi High Command. What sort of intelligence? His smile reappears shyly. Important intelligence, highly classified. We could work together, you and I. I remain where I stand. An image of Major Harkin flashes in my mind, followed by Sabine. Then Tilly comes to me, alive, but so terribly broken. All because of this man. I make sure that Dorner is staring straight at me before I spit into his face. He lurches back, disgusted, and tries to attack me, but I plant a kick into his stomach. He goes down onto one knee and gasps for air. That's for Harkin, I say. Another kick, this time in the ribs. For Sabine, an elbow to his nose. For Tilly. I'm about to dig my fingers into his throat when Colonel James barrels into the room and tears me off Dorner. That's enough, he shouts. That's more than enough. I don't fight him on that. I wasn't going to kill Dorner. but I didn't want to leave him without a few mementos. Out, Colonel James says to me. He thrusts me toward the door, but I twist around to see Dorner one more time. He's lying on the floor, blood gushing from his nostrils. He looks ready to murder me. Farewell, Reinhard, I say, panting. I hope you enjoy this cell. As Colonel James shoves me into the corridor, Dorner screams a list of expletives behind me, but I hardly hear him. Let him scream. Let him beg. I'll make sure that no one will come to help him. I thought I had made myself clear, Colonel James says, obviously not pleased with my behavior. He's alive, only because I interceded. I wasn't planning on killing him. I beg to differ. I stop in the middle of the hall and remove my arm from his grasp. If I'd wanted him dead, he'd be dead. He'll need medical attention, you know, Colonel James says with a sigh. Then give it to him. But I'm going to make sure that he spends the rest of his days in a jail cell. No trial, just those 4 cement walls. You can count on that. I stride away quickly before the colonel can answer me. I'm not arguing with him about this matter. Dorner will never take another breath as a free man again. As I climb up the stairwell, I can still hear him shouting from his cell. He's calling for me. He's cursing my name. His fury is a song to my heart. Goodbye, Herr Reinhard, I whisper. Whoa.